In today's video, I'm trying out Gran Turismo 7 Spec 3 Update, which I'm going to call an F1 update, as we have two Formula 1 circuits coming to GT7. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and the Canadian GP. A very nice timing, I must say, with the Yas Marina Circuit as we're coming to the IRL Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in F1. I'm pretty sure they've done that on purpose. And then, unbelievably, my favorite ever F1 circuit in gaming and real life. It's the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And along with these two new tracks, which are completely free with the Spec 3 update, are 10 new cars as well, plus a paid DLC of the Power Play pack. But today we're going to be covering the two F1 tracks and one of the free cars that's come to GT7, which is another Formula style car. We've already had these other two retro F1 cars essentially, and this is another one. I would say more of a midway modern take of a Formula 1 car, maybe like 1990s Formula 1 compared to maybe the other two, which are more like 1980s and 1970s. I would say looks beautiful. I mean, as ever, Gran Turismo 7 has always been a lovely game in terms of that graphical fidelity finish for the car models themselves and the track. I mean, just off that preview, I hope you'll agree at the start that Yas Marina and the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve are looking gorgeous on this game. And as a massive F1 fan, a player of the F1 game, it's always great to experience F1 in a different sense, on a different gaming platform like Gran Turismo. I mean, with Sport for Choice lately, we've had the update to Assetto Corsa Evo that I literally just made a video of yesterday with the SF25, and now we've got these two new F1 circuits in Gran Turismo. And I think it's always cool to see, like, circuits, for example, done on a different game, because it always has a slightly different feel. Like, even just this, cycling through the different times of day with slightly different weather conditions and, seeing a familiar circuit, but in a totally new way, new visuals slightly. And so in these quick races here, first one being Canada, we had to do Canada first, of course, up against the hardest difficulty, trying to get up to first place in the objective over 3 laps against a bunch of very different cars, I must say, with that massive, I think it's the Bugatti, is it? Absolutely huge compared to this retro F1 car. The McLaren VGT as well, looking pretty massive compared to all these open wheel single seater cars. But oh, it's sick. It's so good to be here in Montreal on GT7, and this opening lap is pretty damn intense as we have to lift off, trying to go around the outside of 2 of those cars, maybe making it 3 as we can't quite get the Dallara SF19 ahead of us. We are up into 7th place. But it's a totally new experience for this game, but for us as F1 fans, it's a very familiar sight, and that's what makes it enjoyable for me. When I come to these sort of games, it can sometimes feel a bit daunting, and it's hard to enjoy it always when it's totally different circuits I don't really know. And obviously there's some fun learning new circuits, but when you know how the circuit layout is, you can just immediately try and pick it up and just get going and try and push the limits. And you saw there into the hairpin, clearly push the limits a bit too much. It is a retro F1 car, so maybe I can't really match the break points we've got on F1 25, so I need to take that into account. But nonetheless, we're still going for the moves. But oi, 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 that curb was so much worse than it is on the official F1 game. Really clouted it, and you cannot ride those two orange curbs in the same way you can on F1 25, probably in a more realistic way, I would say. Although, to be fair, they do ride them very well in real life as well, to be honest. So it's maybe more this retro F1 car, the suspension travel and just the mechanical grip, maybe obviously not as high as a modern day Formula 1 car, but we're still making good progress, and we didn't lose too much time, to be fair, as we nearly go for the dive again. Same spot on that Dallara, just a different one this time. Couldn't quite get it again on the inside run, but we're going to get a great exit and jump up to P4. But again, just finding more and more time and getting more used to this specific car with the circuit. And to be fair, I'm kind of scratching my head to really nitpicking the differences of this circuit in GT7 compared to the F1 game. I think the F1 game's always done Montreal pretty decently. Obviously, the curbs are very different, probably more realistic here on this game. And I think also the bumps, actually, that's a great point. The bumps, like you can see this car, obviously it's a retro F1 car, so it's feeling them more, but everything is a lot more detailed on the bumps. And naturally, GT7 the force feedback is a lot better, is a lot more accurate, and you have so much more detail coming through the wheelbase when you're driving, like the feeling in your hands. So that's probably the biggest thing. But in terms of like the layout, I would say the flow and the, you know, the parameters of the track, I think it's pretty solid. I think if you compared it like for like, yes, there's probably some differences there, and the F1 game probably does need an update to Montreal. But in terms of the feel and flow, very, very calm and very, very, you know, like, oh, getting straight into it and feeling pretty comfortable within, well, 3 laps. As we're here on the final lap, we made a really good dive bomb into the final chicane. That time rode the curbs a lot better. Couldn't quite make a move in Sector 1 here on one of our fellow Retro F1 cars. He goes defensive very nicely on the inside, so we had to try and go around the outside. Couldn't quite get any sort of, you know, oomph out that corner though. So into the hairpin. Could we make a late dive? We're going to try and go for it. Float the car in. We get to the apex. To my surprise though, he's kept his foot in, and we're actually in a drag race, and he outdoes me on traction on the exit. Didn't really expect that too much because, you know, being honest, the AI, as we get squeezed again. This was the only really aggressive AI in this quick race, as it's been pretty straightforward, you know, making good progress. And to be fair, it has taken us to the last lap, the last corner. I was a little bit disappointed when I logged on to see on the sport multiplayer section, there was no sport, you know, sign-up race for Montreal nor Yas Marina. There was some weird time trial in some massive, like, road car around Yas Marina, but nothing with the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve nor Yas Marina where you could just hop on with other players and race against them in maybe this Retro F1 car. I think they missed a trick there. That would have made perfect sense to do a bunch of these retro cars in the daily race. You know, seeing as it was the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix on the weekend that I'm posting this, basically. And speaking of, we're now going to that circuit. But yeah, I feel like they missed a trick there with getting a bunch of F1 fans to play GT7, specifically when this update dropped. We're doing a daily race with one of the circuits and this new retro F1 car they got. So that's why I'm doing a quick race with AI, because being very blunt and honestly, I'm only interested in the F1 experience on this update, because that's what I enjoy the most, really, as we're now getting into the Abu Dhabi GP race. Obviously you had to do it at night time, but my god, this Ferrari VGT, it's as wide as anything. That's as wide as a planet. That has its own gravitational pull, that did, as we go down the inside and trying to recreate our best Max Verstappen impression from 2021 as we dive it down the inside of a unknowing Super Formula car that was. And now just, you know, trying to take in the circuit with chase cam. This track's looking gorgeous under the floodlights. I would say I mean, Canada was pretty, I would say, yeah, not too much difference to the F1 game. This just has a little tinge of, yeah, the graphics and the general engine that GT7 runs on. This track looks awesome on this game. You know, F1 25, don't get me wrong, looks really lovely in Yas Marina, but there's just something I can't put my finger on. I really like it. I really like it on GT7. What I'm not liking is this second Ferrari being as wide as ever. This is the game plan for Leclerc and Lewis in the real Grand Prix. They need to get that wide to try and have any hope of getting on the podium, maybe trying to get into third place and just defend with a massive wide rear end, as we're now catching up to a Mazda. Bunch of these other cars as we get very, very wide there, making a double dive bomb. Those guys are so slow in the final corner, but that traction zone really caught me out. That was the first time of a little bit of a mistake, really, around this Yas Marina circuit. The curbs have been pretty alright so far, but that's famous last words. Just wait for it later on in this lap. The curb is going to outdo me a little bit here. So it's nice to see translation from EAF1 to GT7, that the curbs around Yas Marina are just as deadly. And you'll see what I mean later on. But we've made swift work of these guys. And looking a bit quicker, to be honest, around Montreal, around here than I was in Montreal. Although, to be fair, the circuit's a lot more open to overtakes and dive bombs, whereas the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is a lot tighter to make those moves. But now just trying to take in the circuit and getting quicker and quicker with this car, although maybe a little bit too deep into that corner, trying to get the nose turned in with first gear. But yeah, the car feeling good with the wheel I'm using, by the way, if you don't know, is the Thrustmaster T598. I use the same one on PC with F1, so it's always a nice like-for-like comparison of how the different games feel. And as I said in the Montreal race, the major thing is the force feedback here, but you're about to see... Oh! That curb absolutely killed me. And to be fair, that same curb can kill you on F1 25. So that's quite like-for-like realism in both platforms. Because if a curb can kill you on GT7, it should probably be killing you on a different game. Because I think having played various few different sims and games now, GT7 for me has always had the best curb feeling and physics of like, oh, I can really feel every little bump, every rumble strip, every bump on the road with GT7, compared to F1, where sometimes they miss it out, or it's maybe a little bit bluff, or in the case of F1 25, sometimes there are just bumps that aren't meant to be there, like the infamous Bahrain one in Sector 1, isn't it? As we now round out this race, there's nothing really else to do apart from just going as quick as we can and finishing this race off with the fastest lap of the race so far, and a really fun little experience. But GT7, please do some daily races with these tracks, with this retro F1 car, and one of the other Formula cars, and I will be there for another video. But for now, this has been my experience with the new Spec 3 F1 update. I'm liking it too. Guys, if you have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Will you be checking out this update and the game if you're an F1 fan? Let me know in the comments below. I'll catch you guys around. Goodbye.